The New York City of the 1980s was a city of ambition, excess, and, some would argue, corruption.
It's good to give back, It
was a time when fortunes were made and sometimes lost in the towering shadows of newly erected skyscrapers. At the heart of this boom was the construction industry, a sector where Donald Trump was making his mark. However, this industry was also notorious for its deep-seated potential ties to organized crime, particularly the Gambino family.
Neil used to say to me, the boss is the boss is the boss.
Understanding this context is crucial as we delve into the potential intersections between Trump's business dealings and the underworld of that era. One figure who casts a long and undeniably dark shadow over this narrative is Roy Cohn, Donald Trump's lawyer, mentor, and crucial early influence. Cohn's reputation as a ruthless fixer, a man who could manipulate legal systems and bend them to his will, and his well-documented and deep-seated connections to the Mafia are undeniable, forming a significant part of his public and private persona.
What motivates Roy Cohn?
I would say power motivates me. Having power motivates me.
He represented some of the most notorious figures in organized crime, including Anthony "Fat Tony" Salerno, the front boss of the Genovese crime family, a figure whose presence loomed large over New York's underworld. While direct evidence linking Cohn to specific Trump projects through explicit, provable transactions is scarce, the sheer breadth of his influence on Trump's business philosophy, his network of contacts, and his understanding of how power was wielded in New York City cannot be ignored.
You make things happen in your life.
Well, that's good. That's what I want to do.
The question remains, and it is a question that demands careful consideration. To what extent did Cohn's connections, his understanding of the city's undercurrents, and his approach to business, shaped by his dealings with organized crime? Cohn knew the city. He understood its hidden power. He dealt with the Mafia. Let's explore how organized crime in New York impacted Trump's business. Sammy, the Bull Gravano, a former underboss of the Gambino crime family, has offered firsthand, chilling accounts of the Mafia's iron-fisted control over the New York City construction industry. He meticulously describes a system where labor unions, the very backbone of construction projects, were manipulated and coerced, their leadership often puppets on strings held by the Gambino family. Concrete suppliers, the lifeblood of any major building endeavor, were similarly ensnared, their operations dictated by the Mafia's whims. And other essential services, from trucking to waste disposal, were all subject to the heavy hand of organized crime, their prices inflated, their services extorted. This control wasn't a mere suggestion. It was a firm grip, a stranglehold that extended to major construction projects throughout the city, potentially and significantly, including those undertaken by Donald Trump. The Gambino family's influence was not a whisper in the shadows, a subtle suggestion of power. It was a pervasive, suffocating force that shaped the entire landscape of New York City construction. It was a reality that anyone operating within that industry, particularly those undertaking large-scale projects, would have had to contend with, to navigate, and perhaps to succumb to. Sammy Gravano's accounts find support in the words of Michael Franzese, a former Colombo crime family captain, who details the pervasive corruption that gripped New York's construction industry during that period. Franzese details the prevalence of no-show jobs, a system where individuals were paid for work they never performed, and the insidious practice of inflated costs, where project budgets were artificially inflated to siphon off profits for organized crime. He also describes other forms of corruption, such as bid rigging and extortion, that permeated the industry, creating an environment where legitimate businesses were often forced to operate within a corrupt framework. While Franzese is careful not to directly implicate Donald Trump in specific criminal activities, he meticulously highlights the environment in which Trump conducted his business dealings. He paints a picture of a system where corruption was not an anomaly, but rather a deeply ingrained reality, a system that would have presented significant challenges for any developer operating in New York City at that time. The central question, therefore, is not necessarily about direct involvement in criminal acts, but rather about the extent to which Donald Trump was aware of and potentially benefited from this corrupt system. Did he, perhaps unknowingly, profit from inflated costs or no-show jobs? Did he, as a savvy businessman, navigate this corrupt landscape in a way that minimized his exposure to illicit activities? Or did he, consciously or unconsciously, become a participant in a system that was fundamentally compromised?
Tony,
Hey,
how you doing?
how you doing?
Good, good. You got that thing for me?
This is the core of the inquiry, a question that demands careful consideration and further investigation. Investigative journalists like Wayne Barrett and David K. Johnston have spent years meticulously documenting Trump's business dealings. Their work, along with court documents from racketeering cases, provides a broader context for understanding the potential connections. Barrett, in his book, Trump, The Deals and the Downfall, alleges that Trump's real estate ventures involved dealings with organized crime figures and were marred by unethical practices. Johnston, in his book, The Making of Donald Trump, documents connections between Trump's business operations and individuals linked to organized crime. Court documents from the Georgia election racketeering prosecution reveal allegations that Trump led a criminal racketeering enterprise aimed at unlawfully altering the 2020 election outcome. These sources paint a picture of an industry where corruption was not an anomaly, but a systemic problem. Given the environment described by former Mafia figures, the central question remains: to what extent did Donald Trump's business dealings intersect with organized crime? Were his projects subject to inflated costs or other forms of corruption? And, most importantly, did he take steps to mitigate the potential for corruption, or did he knowingly benefit from it? The available evidence, while often circumstantial, suggests that Trump operated in an environment where organized crime's influence was undeniable. The question isn't whether he was aware, but how he navigated it. Accounts detail pervasive corruption, including no-show jobs and inflated costs. Yet, Sammy the Bull Gravano recounts attempting to bribe Trump years ago, an offer Trump refused. Gravano also alleges FBI agents tried to get him to lie about Trump. This paints a complex picture. Did Trump navigate this landscape ethically? Did he benefit unknowingly? Or did he participate? These questions demand further investigation. It's difficult to definitively say, considering Trump's well-documented work ethic and lifestyle, which notably excludes drinking, smoking, or gambling. It's also recognized that Trump possesses a distinct and sometimes controversial temperament. These factors add layers of complexity to understanding his business dealings and interactions within that era.
My name's Donald Trump, and I'm the largest real estate developer in New York.
Thanks for tuning into Money Files. If you found this information valuable, please leave a comment below and share your own insights. And if you want to stay updated on the money trails, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell. See you next time.